This podcast is brought to you by our presenting sponsor, Black Acres Roastery. Black Acres Roastery is an artisan coffee roaster located in the Highlandtown district of Baltimore. Every roast, they strive to bring out the best qualities and unique coffees from around the world. They ethically source beans and curate roasting profiles that provide each cup of coffee a story. My favorite is Midnight Train, a dark roast with notes of cocoa nibs, graham cracker, and stone fruit. Delicious. Also, check out their cold brew. Temperatures are changing, so cold brew is going to be in effect. So stay woke and check out their website, www.blackacrescoffee.com. Tell them Rob Lee sent you. Welcome to Getting to the Truth in This Art. I am your host, Rob Lee, and today's guests are the general manager of the Revival Hotel, Donte Johnson, and the director of culture and impact, Jason Bass. Welcome to the podcast.
Yo, thanks for having us.
Thank you so much, man.
I'm happy. I follow the social media. I see you two are people to talk to. So I feel like people are paying attention to what's going on here. And it's like, oh yeah, let me Photoshop myself. I don't have to do that anymore.
That's cool, man.
Thank you, man. Thank you for saying that.
Totally.
I appreciate it. Yeah,
so, and some of these questions are going to be for both of you, and other instances I'll mention directly because it's rare to have two people on at the same time. So in an elevator pitch, for those who are uninitiated, describe what your work is at the Revival between the two of you, if you both could speak on that.
Yeah, absolutely. I come from a background of lifestyle hospitality.
Sure.
So I've worked in hotels for 20 years now, across various different cities, several different companies. And I've always, my personal brand has always been incredibly community focused. So everywhere that I've gone, I've done things in the community. I've built programs, I've mentored young people, and always really looked to find a connection between hospitality as an industry and driving positive community impact. And I think what's unique about Revival is that our entire business model is built around that. So really at every opportunity, we're looking for ways that we can still run an amazing hotel, still provide a great experience for people who want to stay here or want to have food and drinks here, but how we can do that in a way that's sustainable from a community perspective. And I think that there's been a lot of waves in hospitality over the course of the last couple of decades. There was a window where every hotel started to become eco-friendly. There was a wave where every hotel started leaning into design. There was a wave where hotels started wanting to do sophisticated food and beverage offerings. And I think that in the last couple of years, there's been a lot that's happened in the world that's got people focused on how they can have a better impact on community. And so we were building the right model at the right time to be set up very well to provide some support and some aid to people who had huge needs last year. And so that's just kind of been the way that we've always gone about the business. And it just lines up really well for my personal brand and to bring in somebody like Jason, who's able to kind of really take that and put it on steroids and really, blast it out into the city in a really powerful way.
It's great to hear.
It's hard to follow that up. I think he really covered every single thing. And the only thing I have to add to that is being somebody who's always been, adjacent to hospitality or just on the edges of what people consider to be traditional hospitality. Yeah. I've always had an interest and experience dealing with people, servicing people, and then also doing whatever's possible to improve my community and others around me. I mean, this was just a very, very unique opportunity to bring a lot of those efforts to life on a larger stage with a great team. So that's not something you normally get. And I think the results of that can be seen, from a culture and impact perspective, and then. More on the other parts of the cultural side, we're able to create programming that really caters to every audience that we can touch on in an authentic way, right? We don't want to get into spaces that we don't necessarily belong in or aren't right for us. We try to do the things that are appropriate, that are real, and actually have a legitimate impact on the audience that we're doing it for.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that there's a lot of spaces.
It's so impactful.
The power of impact. That's great.
Yeah, we'll get that going again.
Yeah. I think, authenticity and congruency is very important, especially in Baltimore. And I think like we'll point it out. People around here will point it out when it's like, nah, I don't know if that's real. I don't know if that's accurate. And when they see work that's going on, that's good and it makes sense and it's like on brand, but also it's like, this makes sense for here.
Yeah.
It resonates with people.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what we've been experiencing. Yeah. Honestly, some people are able to describe it in that way, but not actually execute against those things. And I think we just figured out we're really like how to do that, how to do it here for us, how to do it for the brand, for the community, and not really sacrifice a lot to achieve it, right? So,
I think it's a great point that you make, that people can sense when it's not real and when it's not authentic, and I think that there's spaces where there's certainly things that we could do that would be opportunistic and that might benefit the business, but don't feel natural. We won't do those things. And then there's times where we do things that have no tangible impact on the bottom line of the business, but they feel like the right thing to do. And they feel like things that we're uniquely positioned to lean into. And we do those things. And so I think when you're trying to measure and figure out, who's really, here for the right reasons, I think those are two really easy ways to determine, whether it's real or not. And I think people absolutely are keen on that at this point.
So there's no marketing plan for clout. Is that what you're saying?
I'm sure there's a million of them. I don't know if any of them work.
So both of you chime in on this one, because I think we kind of touched on it a little bit, in which you both are describing, specifically in Baltimore and the various communities here, both macroly and microly, if that's a word, but share the importance of your specific roles within the various communities in Baltimore.
Yeah, I mean, I'll go first because I think I'll be pretty quick with this. I'm still getting to know Baltimore. I'm still discovering everything that Baltimore has to offer. I'm a DC guy, and so I've only worked here for a couple of years, and one of those years has been a pandemic year, which doesn't really count, right? So I'm still learning new things about Baltimore every day. But I think the role that I can play in all this as the city continues to evolve, as I see it, is really continuing to push this movement forward. And I think that businesses can move in communities differently. We don't have to do things the way that they've always been done. And I think we've really taken the opportunity to lead the charge in demonstrating that. And so, when we have great results here from a business perspective, but we do that in a way that still leaves the world a little bit better than we found it, puts smiles on people's faces in the community. I think that's something that people take notice of. And if the industry moves, 1 degree in the right direction because of something that we did, then I think that's the part that I play in this, is modeling that behavior, doing the storytelling around it to continue to drive awareness. Because I do believe in the good nature of people in our industry. Ultimately, hospitality is just taking care of people. And so as we continue to set that example, I think people will follow.
Yeah, and I'm from Baltimore, but I don't think you have to be from Baltimore to recognize that a lot of our communities are very siloed and segregated in different ways. So, I look at my responsibility as someone who can traverse all of those different spaces, freely. I look at this as an opportunity for me to help expose Baltimore to itself and create handshaking opportunities and cultural exchanges, that wouldn't normally happen naturally. With that being said, it's not always easy to figure out, what different parts of the community should be really interacting with the other parts. But we know that we would benefit from that, in a great way. Certain spaces would be more welcoming to other people that are normally, being spoken to from a business side of things. And aren't being treated with the same level of consideration and respect. Everyone here gets treated, with the highest level of quality and care that we would give the next person. Yeah. Right. So, So, I look at this from a larger level, like the whole city being able to see itself and enjoy itself in a way that it might not have known before, and for individuals to get that warm and fuzzy feeling from somebody who actually, and from people who actually, care about them.
Yeah, we get asked a lot of times about sort of the creative process at the hotel and where the ideas come from. And the thing that I continue to say is that the most important thing that we've created is space for conversations and intersections that otherwise might not have existed. And I think even physically, the hotel is situated, at the intersection of a lot of different communities. And so being in Mount Vernon, you're geographically accessible to the entire city, but these types of spaces haven't historically been accessible to the entire city. And so we're trying to change that conversation. And again, just model that you can do those things differently. You don't have to be exclusive in that way. You can create a really inclusive environment and still do that at a high level.
And in addition to that, once we have these partners, once we have these people around, we seek to amplify it.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a fantastic platform to be a part of if you're an artist or you're a creative. Yeah. And, we have a very strong PR team behind us. We've had a lot of success being able to work with like local business owners, artists and such, and really broadcast their work and their efforts, outside of just our ecosystem. Right. So it could go as far as, we've worked with a local toilet paper company and they've been on CBS morning show. Right.
Right.
So,
and I think it's things like that. And a lot of times it happens in a really organic way. And the ecosystem continues to build. And so, what's great about that is not only do we support these small businesses and promote them, but we start to see them support and promote each other, which, that really is an ecosystem in the truest sense. And that's really, one of the things that we're most proud of.
It's really important, I think, obviously everything, but one thing that really stuck out is one of the things I've noticed in living here, being from Baltimore, always being in Baltimore, is that one of those things people just look at, oh, I only go over east, I only go over west, and that's about it. And when you can be in one of those spots where you're able to interact with people that are right there or learn about different things that are right there, it's like, oh, snap, that artist is from here, or, oh, I didn't know that was over there. And being able to have those exchanges is really important. And that's one of those kind of aims of this podcast, where doing this, and I described it before as like a travel show for Baltimoreans about Baltimore. And it's like you can easily miss these things. And it's been an opportunity for me to actually learn a little bit more about this city and the people that reside in it, and show that we got a lot of talent and a lot of cool things that are happening here. What's going on, the Revival being one.
Thanks, man. It means a lot.
I appreciate it. And it's crazy to think that you can grow up 40 minutes down the road and have no idea about all the amazing things that are happening in this city. And so I think another role that I can play as a storyteller is going back into, DC and communities there. Miami is kind of my second home. Everywhere I go, I kind of take a little piece of Baltimore with me now. And being a person who 2 years ago had no idea about these things, as I discover them and push them out, I think it's important that people hear about Baltimore, not only from the perspective of people from here, but also from the perspective of people who are discovering the city right now as it currently is.
Yes, one of the things I like to ask people, especially like early on in this series, asking people who are transplants who have moved in, is like, what is your vantage point? What is your view of Baltimore? Then maybe asking someone who's been here and kind of seeing how it differs. And one of the common things I've heard is community, very supportive within the specific communities, whether it be if you're making soap like Mount Roll Soaps, if you're out there, as I've said before, I think I reached out to Lord Touch and I was like, let's get that ass game right, like toilet paper, what have you. And it's just these different things, but everyone just talks about how like supportive it is compared to maybe where they've come from. It's like people will come from New York and it's like, you have to have that degree of nepotism, and that's always going to be there, but it's accessible here is the thing out here. Like people are always looking out in that community. So Jason, how was your experience being the hotel's first ever director of culture and impact?
Terrible, man. They treat me like trash. This is crazy. No, honestly, it's
that's great.
Let me tell you, man, it's a complete honor. I'm extremely grateful to have the opportunity. So for me, it's like, as someone who has been an event planner, someone that's very focused on community, focused on the city, focused on inclusion, diversity, that kind of stuff, always looking to have, an experience that includes everyone. See, I'll back up a little bit when I say this. Like, I was born in Baltimore, but I moved to California when I was 8 or something like that, and stayed there until I was 12. And living in Southern California, it was very common to just have a Mexican best friend, or, whatever. Like, everybody was from all over the place, you know what I mean? So coming back to Baltimore is a little bit of a culture shock in a way, because it's very black and white. So, that's something that I just had to grow to accept coming back here. But I never forgot my experience and the value of having, such a diverse, friend network or community in California. So, I never thought I would find those same type of things here. And then I was able to explore a little bit more and be introduced to the different neighborhoods that those demographics exist in. But again, they don't talk to each other, right? So this was like a dream, right? To be able to have a hotel, right? That's a full service hotel is focused on heads and beds in a way, just like any other hotel, but also has food and beverage. Say, you know what, we want to do a little bit more. We want to open this up and embrace the community around us in a real way, not just a performative way, where they do one thing and it's like, we check this box, locals and brand, and kind of move on. We started exploring ways to quickly pivot during the pandemic, and say, all right, well, what are we going to do if it's not people staying, getting people to stay here or party here or drink or eat here? And it's like, well, we can look out for the service industry people that need us most right now. Because those are the people who are working here. Those are the people that we have the closest touch points with. And immediately everyone just rallied, called on the people that they could depend on to donate food, to donate resources, supplies. And they showed up on their days off during a time that was really difficult, and it was very unsure as to like what we should and shouldn't be doing. But then, give out toilet paper that we had in abundance because, we were prepared for like a busy season, you know what I mean? Right. But now we have all the toilet paper, nobody's using it. Let's bag it up. And this was gold at the time. We're giving it away for free along with fresh fruits and vegetables because we had a relationship with Hungry Harvest and, other food suppliers in the area. So to be able to see that, that's when I knew it was 100% real. Yep. That's when I knew it was genuine, right? Like outside of someone, Donte explaining his vision for how he wanted this hotel to be, that those types of things weren't necessarily the focus at the time, and there was a little bit of a tertiary thing, but it was a part of the conversation. Then it quickly became the main and only conversation, sure. Right? And it wasn't happening in a way where it felt like something was being lost, or it was a thing that people didn't want to do but felt like they had to do it. Everybody just did it, and it felt great at the end of the day, and went above and beyond, any kind of job role that they had here. All hands were on deck doing whatever we could for months for the people that were in our community and people who, frankly, maybe didn't have weren't our customer base at all. Yeah. Like we stopped by senior centers that had 400 plus people in it. And they, of course, couldn't use the app to have food delivered or couldn't go to the grocery store, Yeah. And we were dropping off, 2 pickup trucks full of like everything that they needed. And they were extremely grateful and we were happy to do it for them. So, when I think about what it's like to be, the first director of culture and impact, the name and title on the song makes me happy, of course. But the part that really touches my heart are those things, the real things, the substantive things. And then being able to say, last part I'm going to say, is being able to work with people like Nandigi and her sister from Lord Tush. Yeah. And hey, we found a quality product, something that fits right within like the things that we need, right. From, every single day in this hotel. Like, let's get rid of this Scots or Angels, whatever. Whoever those guys are, we don't know, right? We're going to go for the ones that that have risked everything to start a small business in a space that they're not necessarily like, experts in, or have, a ton of money to lose, just messing around. So, we vetted them, and we were able to bring them into the fold and support them, just like we're starting to do with other places, other small small business owners and product makers, like Black Acres Coffee.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's a Black-owned coffee roaster, and now we have them leading the in-room coffee experience with 2 different types of unique, packages and experiences, right? With a steepable version of their coffee and then a pour-over version of their coffee. This is crazy. This is incredible.
Right.
This is in Baltimore, right? This isn't New York or LA or wherever you would think that some of these places, some of these small businesses would be starting up and growing. This is Baltimore. The stories that they tell about the city aren't that.
Right.
And so now we're able to tell those stories. We're able to support those stories, share those stories, and do that not only with the 100+ guests that stay in the hotel every day from a hotel room perspective, but anyone who is listening to the bullhorn that we have.
Black Acres, stay woke, stay woke, stay woke. That is a shameless plug on my part. You guys will have an opportunity to shamelessly plug later. But
that's a long answer. But
no.
That's not in there.
I appreciate the thoroughness. So Donte, let's touch on this real quick. What do you hope visitors and listeners take away from the community focused efforts at the hotel?
Yeah, I think Jason touched on a lot of it. To be honest, I think when I think about what it means to be a storyteller on behalf of a community, I think it's more than just the things that we say to people in the lobby. I think it's the things that we say to people in their experience. Right. And so it's one thing for me to say, "Oh, Baltimore's an amazing city. I spent time there." And Baltimore's a city that pays my mortgage, right? So it's obviously important to me. I have a vested interest in falling in love with the place. But when you invest in the city, when you invest in the small businesses in the city, when you say, I don't know the CEO of Scott Tissue, I'm sure they're a nice person, but they're not here with us passing out, food to the community.
True.
So they have less value to us. They're not representative and emblematic of what it means to be resilient and what it means to be a part of a small business community like Baltimore. So that's not who we're going to do business with. I think that in and of itself demonstrates a level of connection to the community. And I think what I hope that people take away from it is that everybody can be their version of a revival. And, I used to say this differently, and, Jason, I credit him, but eventually he got me to stop. But I used to say anybody can do this. When we were doing interviews last year and people were just blown away with the fact that we were doing so many different things to support the local community. What I kept saying is every hotel buys food from somebody. So all of those hotels can call the people that they buy food from and say, listen, you've got stuff that's in your pipeline right now that's going to go bad because restaurants are closed. Right. Let us take that food and give it to the community. To me, that was the easiest example of something that literally anybody could have done who's in our position. And eventually Jason got me to kind of stop saying that because anybody didn't do it. And my hope was that hearing me constantly say that you can do this too would inspire some people to start to reimagine the way that they participate in a community. So what I hope people take away from it is that, you might not be able to do some of the things that we've done. Everybody doesn't have a Jason. Everybody doesn't have the support of a Hyatt framework. Everybody doesn't have, a incredibly well-designed hotel with fantastic food and beverage in a community like Mount Vernon, but everybody has their version of that. And so if you work in an office building, why does your office building in Baltimore have Scott Tissue when Lord Tush exists?
Yeah.
Right. If you have a cafe, why does your cafe feature, coffee brand X when Black Acres exists? Right. And so whatever your version of that is, businesses pump hundreds of millions of dollars into other communities every year. If we, with a little bit of thought, a little bit of attention, and a little bit of creativity, you can change the complexion of the entire city. So, my hope is that that's what people take away from it. Is that little nudge, because we're not going to stop talking about it. And it's not a plug for the business. It's a plug for the community.
That's what I'm taking from it.
Few of the examples, like we can't forget about Lafette Rosé, tobacco and rosé. The founder and CEO is from Baltimore, Maryland. Is the only one made out of San Tropez. We have them here, and we do a thing where if you buy a bottle, $5 goes towards Learning to Live, which is a nonprofit essentially established to take Baltimore City high school students out of their communities and to allow them to travel around the world.
Yeah, the thing I love about the Lafette piece is that we would have rocked with Lafette anyway, right? Because Donte is a great guy. We spent time with him, and it's a quality product, like an incredible rosé. But the fact that Donte already on his end is donating a portion of his sales to Learning to Live, that's what we're about. Like that's what we do. So now Learning to Live on a bottle of rosé that's sold here gets hit twice, which is great. And so we're trying to drink these kids all around the world. Yep. So at every opportunity, if there's a bottle of wine that's being pushed, we're going to do that. And this hotel does not make money selling Lafette.
Right.
We're essentially selling Lafette on behalf of Learning to Live. Mm-hmm. So this isn't a commercial enterprise for us. This is something bigger than that. It's something more important than that.
This is the T-shirt I'm wearing is artwork that was designed by Will Watson, a local artist that did our street.
Yeah. Shout out to Will, man.
Shout out to Will. Yeah. And then, from a conversation that Donte had with Will about this piece, it resulted in these shirts being created. The next day, within 24 hours, Will had already started producing apparel based on this and selling it online, which creates a whole new stream of revenue for him and gets a different audience exposed to his wonderful work. I just so happened to have this on today. It wasn't
I mean, Will's been on the podcast too, so definitely I'm hearing all of these really cool and inspiring things. And I asked the question of what do you hope the audience is taking away? And from this standpoint of being an audience and listening to everything, you brothers are killing it. I'm in awe.
I love it. I appreciate it.
So I got a few more questions, and then opportunity to shamelessly plug. I mean, I like to leave that in there for people. So Jason, judging by your social media posts, I get that foodie vibe off of you.
Yeah.
What's the most interesting trait about the food culture in Baltimore?
Let me tell you something about Baltimore's food scene. I think it can rival DC. I think it can rival Philly. I'm throwing that out there. I'm challenging you. Whoever's listening to this podcast, get your pots and pans ready. Honestly, I think that Baltimore I think it's developing in a way that is exciting and is kept the authenticity of the people here. Yep. And it's also allowed for all the different ethnicities and styles of food to be expressed and enjoyed throughout the entire city, right? So one of my favorite areas to eat out of is just the Charles Street, Mount Vernon corridor, because you can get Ethiopian, you can get a couple different types of Indian, like Nepalese, you can get Chinese food, you can get there's all these different versions. You can get sushi, whatever, right? Just on this going up the block, there's everything. There's Korean barbecue. There's a chicken box. You can get the chicken box. You know what I mean? It's literally just going up. You're touching 15, 20 countries, and you're going to get a local experience, right? And it's all good. You know how hard it is to go into another city and get good Chinese food?
It's one of the hardest things possible.
The Thai food, it's difficult. It's difficult, right? As much as I've traveled, sometimes I just need the basics. And I think that we've done it really well. I think the city's done it incredibly well. I enjoy the food here. I enjoy the people behind the food here. Yeah. The chefs, the servers, the bartenders. Yeah. I mean, I make some of my greatest friends, over meals and drinks. So.
Yeah, what would you say about the cocktail scene? Follow-up question.
Spin it. Do it. Let's hit it.
Yo, I mean, we got a couple very impressive mixologists, bartenders in the city that are really leading the charge, not only on what spirits they've chosen to like practice with, being rums or mezcal or something like that, something that's not traditionally like, consumed like, vodkas or whatever.
Yeah.
And they're finding different ways to like, to present these things in like amazing vessels, like we were talking yesterday. It's, there's a wonderful place up the street from here that has, they're testing out a cocktail that's made with mezcal and rum, and they do it in an ice bubble.
Yeah.
Right. That melts in like 20 minutes.
Yeah. So literally at the drink's time. You gotta get it.
It's rum and mezcal, and then you gotta do it in 15, 20 minutes. So you're gonna lose all of this, right?
It's an experience there.
Challenge accepted.
Challenge. And I think we also do classics really well. And I give a little shout out to Anna here. Annie Welker. I mean, she's not only when it comes from a cocktail perspective, but she started something called
Zero Proof,
Zero Judgment, which is an entire, bar program that has no alcohol. These are mocktails.
Yeah. And
they're fantastic. Not everybody drinks, not everybody consumes alcohol, and this allows people to participate and feel like they're a part of this social experience, while they're out eating and enjoying some beverages.
Yeah, like you were just talking about your wellness journey, and I think that, as people continue to try and find ways to be healthier, and as we come out of this pandemic where, various different challenges that people are trying to tackle, if you want to participate in the socializing, and if you want to be in a restaurant, be in those spaces, but you're still trying to manage, your consumption of alcohol from a deeply emotional place, like I appreciate being able to order something that's not an iced tea or a Diet Coke.
Yeah.
And, and to have somebody dedicate, valuable mixologist time and energy and R&D to creating a program that's going to give you something just as interesting as what everybody else at the table has. Like, you shouldn't feel like a stepchild at a cocktail bar just because you got to be productive the next morning.
Yep.
Yeah, I want some flair with my mocktail, so if I can get that.
For my situation too, right?
Yeah, it is.
One thing I will say about the Baltimore food scene,
hit record immediately. It might be a compliment.
Here we go. The one thing that I appreciate
isolate that.
Unlike DC and Miami, the cities where I've spent the most time, those are incredibly transient cities. So there's people coming and going all the time who aren't from there. And whenever I would meet people in DC and tell them I'm from DC, they're like, oh, I don't meet very many people who are from DC in these spaces. When I go to restaurants here, the full range, so all the options that he threw out, these are people that are from the Baltimore community. And so it just feels a little different. And I think, when we go back and forth, and we go back and forth quite a bit about DC versus Baltimore, as you would imagine.
Yes.
The one thing that Jason always brings up, which I'll give that nod to the Baltimore food scene, is that it's a very soulful experience, and you get to taste and experience the Baltimore version of all of these things versus an experience that's a blended mixture of people from all over the world, which, I kind of dig that. I think when I go to cities, I try and genuinely experience those places through the eyes of the people that live there. Like, I want to go to the spot where the people who are from there go. I don't want to go to the spot where the people who are from there send other people to them have to deal with.
Yeah.
Yeah, it goes with that notion of authenticity. Like, I used to say, like, look, I'm trying to go to the hood. Where are the people? Where are the real people at? Like, I want to get loose on some tacos when I go out there to Cali. Whatever that situation is, let's do the real thing.
Right. Off the cart.
Yeah, absolutely. So you've drawn the short straw, Donte. Here's the last question I have before I get into the social media and the plugs and stuff. Yeah. Describe the importance of programs like the McKinsey Black Executive Leadership Program.
Yeah, I don't think that's a short straw at all. I love talking about this program. It's amazing. And so just to kind of give a high level overview of it, it's a program that McKinsey created specifically with the intention to prepare, Black executive level leaders to enter the C-suite of, whatever company, whatever field, whatever industry that you're in, and to be able to break through some of the barriers that have prevented, more Black representation in executive level positions across industries. And so as a person who's in hospitality, a field where, where Black folks are, are widely underrepresented in leadership positions. I mean, 90% underrepresented statistically. I think it's critical that we take advantage of all of those types of opportunities. And so I've got a very busy window of time right now where there's a lot of other commitments that I made previously that overlap with this program, but I wasn't going to miss the opportunity to really do anything that McKinsey is involved with, but also to be able to network and to be able to interact with, people across industries who I'm finding have very similar challenges in their respective industries to the things that I have. And so, Jason and I talk a lot about how we can get all the stakeholders aligned behind things that are incredibly relevant from a cultural perspective to the Black community, but just aren't things that are more widely known. So when we were talking about, Baltimore getting CIAA as an example, I'm incredibly excited about the CIAA partnership. And to me, that was the best news I'd heard in a long time. But I fully recognize that wasn't initially a thing that most business leaders in the city were super familiar with. And so, people like us become spokespeople for the value of that event, for, just the magnitude of having and the cultural significance of an event like that. And I think every industry, every person who's in that program has their version of that storytelling where you bear the responsibility to both perform in whatever your job is, but also to continue to preserve and play the role that you need to play on behalf of the culture. And so I think having a network of people who are going through those same things at the same time, it's an amazing feeling that's really difficult to put into words. But, it's often described as a Wakanda-like experience to be on a Zoom call and to see, 160 people who look like you who are in executive level positions across industries all over the world. So there's people who are on these calls it's the middle of the night where you are, but you're carving out the time and you're committed and dedicated to that program. So it's unlike anything I've ever experienced. And I would encourage anybody who has access to the future cohorts to get into it for sure.
That's great. And it's vastly important. And thank you for sharing that. So in the last few minutes here, here's that time. Like, where can they find your social media, the website, all of the good stuff? And thank you both for being such great guests. I'm feeling great. I feel this is a good way to end the week. Yeah. So plug away, whatever. I'm just going to fall back. I'm in awe. So do your thing.
Yeah.
No, go for it.
I mean, you can find us online, of course, just Revival Baltimore, and same thing on Instagram and Facebook. On Instagram personally, I'm Jason Seabass. I'm branded everywhere. Venmo, Cash App, send the money now. On Twitter and Facebook. So yeah, I know.
And then my Instagram is dojo, do.joh, just short for my name. Pretty quick, pretty easy. And we're both highly active on all social media platforms. In terms of the hotel, Jason just gave you all the platforms, all the handles there. We just opened a cafe downstairs, Stashery Cafe on Instagram. Definitely a thing to check out. And really, again, we're excited to bring that to the community. Topside just reopened last month as restrictions continue to lessen. We'll continue to do bigger and more exciting events in that space. And so I think again, it's a really exciting time in the city. I think the governor just made an exciting announcement relative to COVID restrictions. So it's just good to see things come back to life. And I appreciate you, giving us the opportunity to come on.
Thank you.
Do a little bit of storytelling.
Yeah, this is.
And Rob, before you say something, I'm gonna say one more thing. I'm sorry to cut you off. But we got a chef we just hired for Top Shot, right? I mean, so we're all excited about this. We've had multiple tastings. He's, I think, surpassed any expectation anybody might have had for what he's going to bring to that space upstairs. It's already beautiful. It's already been beautiful. It has a great view, best in the city. And I think he's really going to bring something incredibly special and unique once he introduces this new menu. So please,
Hey, where do you come from?
He came from Dirty Habit out of DC,
Had to get that in there, right?
That's how we do that.
Look, nobody's left in DC now. That was it. There was only one guy.
Rating. So
I like DC food.
I was just down there last week, and it was fine. So again, thank you both, and I'll do my sign off. For Donte and for Jason, I'm Rob Leese, and there are dope places in and around Baltimore. Just gotta look for them.